Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as per usual, as always, we're going to kick the ball over to the whole crew this week. We got John Randall and myself in the house. We're talking all sorts of video game stuff. I actually initially had like a movie-themed, like 20-30-minute conversation trimmed out, and then I found this chunk of conversation. So it's definitely, there's a good chance I'm going to end up using that movie conversation for a future Save It for the Cast episode down the line. But yeah, I got actually a family trip coming up this week. I'm leaving tomorrow, so I'm like getting this episode done a little bit earlier than usual, kind of editing last week's episode and this one here kind of back to back. But I have been playing a handful of games, and I will say I'm going to save my Pikmin 4 thoughts for when we can get the whole crew together, because I know Randall and I have both been playing that as well. But I'm looking forward to actually taking my Switch with me on the trip and squeezing some more, days worth of Pikmin exploring and whatnot in, among maybe some Mario Kart or some other multiplayer stuff. I'm going to try to bring the full setup so we can we got an Airbnb that we're renting out with the family. So and some of the fam likes to get pretty competitive with the Mario Kart stuff, and I've been practicing, so maybe I can hold my own against the family as opposed to my friends who have put in hundreds and hundreds of hours like I've talked about. But as always, I do want to talk about a couple of the games that I have been playing, and going to keep it kind of short and sweet because I do have to get this done and edited and whatnot and ready to go. But a couple of things that I've streamed recently and been really impressed with, games. Picked up a handful of games on my Switch for pretty cheap recently. I picked up Greak Memories of Azur, which was one I'm not going to talk about at the moment, but I played the demo for that one a while back and really loved it. Kind of like a Lost Vikings style game in the sense that you got 3 different characters that you can swap between. I guess I'm talking about it a little bit here, but just a gorgeous kind of hand-drawn art style game that I, again, played the demo of and was just like, I probably won't run that great on my PC, and who knows how it runs on Switch, to be fair, but I'm just like, I really want to get this game. It's on sale for, I think, 75% off. And then again, another game that I grabbed that I will talk about a little more in depth here, not a ton or anything, but it's called Arise, A Simple Story, and I guess this is technically the definitive edition. I don't know what makes it that, but this is another one that was normally $20. It was on sale for 75% off. So I was like, $5. I had, I think, $25 sitting on my Switch from just a previous eShop card or whatever it was, maybe Amazon points or whatever. But it was a game that caught my eye. Kind of looked like a 3D puzzle platformer, and really a good touchstone for this game is The Gardens Between. And I think John and I talked about that game a long time ago on the podcast. And it's kind of like that game is more of like a diorama. Like, it's sort of a puzzle platformer, but you have no control over the characters. You're just kind of controlling the flow of time forward and backwards, and then triggering certain events with the 2 different characters you have in the gardens between, that is. Again, and you're just kind of like, but this game has Arise, A Simple Story, back to that, has kind of a similar aesthetic, and you are able to shift time forward and backwards, but it's also like a full-blown 3D puzzle platformer at the same time. Kind of has a similar low-poly aesthetic, a little less detail here on Arise, A Simple Story, than The Gardens Between. And I hope I'm getting the name of that game right. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I looked it up the other day, and now I'm second-guessing it, and I'm like, is it The Gardens In Between? But that's a different game I was thinking of. But nevertheless, I really have been having a ton of fun with Arise, A Simple Story. I didn't actually know that there was that time mechanic, and there was actually a demo on Switch, so I played the demo. I was like, I'll grab this for $5 for sure. I ended up actually downloading it on, I think it was on Game Pass, or I can't remember where I checked it out and played it on a different platform. Maybe I just watched a video on YouTube, actually, now that I think about it. But I saw that it visually looked about the same on Xbox and PS5 and all that stuff. So I was like, I'm not mad about playing it on Switch. It did look like a little bit, again, it's got that low poly aesthetic, and like, you basically on the very first stage, as you move time forward or backwards, you're either like kind of shifting from winter to spring, it seems, or vice versa. So you're either like creating mounds of snow or causing that snow to melt and then flood a little bit, that will then cause these like platforms and rafts to float up to the surface of the water that then you can jump across. And it's it's not the most fluid, like it's not like a Mario 3D platformer or a Hat in Time or anything where you have that kind of control of your movement, but it is still like a fully, you're fully mobile and you can just move around freely, but the movement's a little more scripted. There's even a little bit of like kind of Uncharted style climbing segments where you gotta hold down like one of the shoulder buttons and kind of work your way up the different like kind of little rocks that are sticking out of, little grabs that you can grab, kind of just rock climbing, I guess. But I really was impressed. I only played kind of the first 2 vignettes, kind of the way the game's broken up. It's like each stage is kind of like a little mini vignette sort of situation. Like I kind of thought it was going to be one long adventure. So I've been loving that aspect as well. I kind of like when a game doesn't feel like it has to rein in all of its elements into one singular cohesive experience. Like I kind of like when it still is that, but you're just moving along like one story beat at a time. It seems like it's almost like you're unlocking like a memory and whatnot. But otherwise, like I've been playing a bunch of JellyCar Worlds. I actually ended up beating that game, though not anywhere near done with it. I've just like gotten one of the 2 exits on each stage, and I'm not going to talk about this one a ton because I talked about it, I think, on last Save It for the Cast or the one before. But it's been a long time since I've just kind of like plowed through a puzzle platformer, let alone a really kind of physicsy one. But I really just had an absolute blast with that game, and kind of love that I have the extra incentive to like, oh, now I can rip through those earlier stages with the unlockables now that I've unlocked pretty much everything that, best I can tell. I had a really cool ending sequence as well that I don't know if I did right. Like it's just all the time. I'm like, I wonder what is going on with this game. Like, could I have actually seen that sequence through all the way to the end? I don't want to spoil anything for it, but just a really cool game. And then I guess one other game that I do want to give just a quick shout out to, although I haven't had a ton of time to play it thanks to Pikmin 4 kind of just soaking up all my attention lately, but I did do a first like hour and a half or so, maybe just hour of Rain World finally, and I got Rain World and Rain World Downpour. The developer, the publisher, Akapura, was kind enough to send a copy of both Rain World and then the Downpour DLC our way, which I haven't had the chance to dig into any of the Downpour stuff yet because I think it's all kind of like post-game content. I think there is ways to unlock it if you want to just punch in codes and whatever, but I was like, I want to experience this game fresh because a lot of the indie developers that I've talked to over the years, since starting up Pursuing Pixels, there's been so many that have like kind of praised Rain World as one of their favorite games for a variety of reasons. And I think it's pretty easy to see why. It's kind of, in my head, I was thinking, oh, it's just kind of like a Metroidvania with some really gorgeous minimalist pixel art and like maybe some lightly physicsy mechanics. But I kind of thought it's just kind of like a platformer with interesting platforming mechanics, but really it's more of like a survival simulator where you're kind of exploring around and you got to find enough food to hibernate before it starts raining again. And it was the perfect game to play. Like I had a few people telling me like, I don't know if I would stream it first. Like it's not really like a quote unquote fun game. You might have fun playing it, but it's more meant to be like frustrating and get under your skin and whatever and just be really difficult, where I could see where it could, again, I only played the first hour and a half, but it's easy to see how it's really unforgiving. And really the most impressive thing for me with the game so far, and I did have a blast streaming it because it was just really fun to kind of like see things fresh for the first time and have people kind of like giving me a little tease of a hint, but not, fully spoiling it or anything. But I really just like was so impressed with the AI, and I'm guessing that's what most of the developers are impressed with as well. Like the whole game and world feel entirely alive, like all the enemies or creatures, they're not really enemies, they're just kind of creatures or whatever, but they will kill you, but they just kind of do their own thing and interact with one another and kill each other, and just kind of like sometimes they'll be kind of like following you around and kind of get distracted by something else that happens, or you can just kind of like crawl through the vents. I actually saw like one of the Steam reviews, I think it was, or maybe it was just a comment that I saw, but somebody was like, oh, it's a New York City rat simulator or something like that. And I mean, it kind of is more that, but it's got just some really cool mechanics. I'm still getting used to, like, you can pick up various objects and throw them, and then you can also grab various objects and eat them for food. I think you have to have like 4 units of food to hibernate for a night, like to have enough food to hibernate, or you can have up to 3 extra on top of that. So you can start off, if you're able to get all 7, at least again, early on, maybe you can unlock more slots or whatever. But for me, I'm like, okay, if I can get 7, I'm good to go. And then I only need to technically find 1 more for the next day. Obviously, I'm trying to max it out pretty much every time. But yeah, it's very clearly easy for me to see like why so many people are drawn to this game. And it's definitely one of those games where I'm just like, I need to have like a good, proper time where I can just strap on the headphones or, turn out all the lights in the living room and really just get kind of lost in this game. But yeah, I really had a good time checking that one out, and so glad I was finally able to give it a look. But yeah, I guess I went on a little longer than I intended to here, but yeah, I'm going to be off on a little family vacation for the rest of the week. And yeah, we'll be back on our normal schedule as always. But yeah, until next week, I'm going to kick the ball over to John Randall and I for some video games conversation, pretty much strictly coming up. So yeah, until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care. Yeah, I thankfully, when the power went out, like I saw the lights kind of dim for a quick second earlier, and I was like, I'm shutting down this iMac before I'm not letting the power outage shut it down for like the 8th time in a row.
Yikes.
So Just, I don't know, anytime that thing shuts down. Yeah, although to be fair, when I shut it down even manually, I still get kind of nervous to boot it back up.
How long does it take to boot up?
It takes a good while. It's more just that it's like 2009. Like every time it's a 2009 computer, every time I shut it down, like it shuts down and then it sort of like freezes. So I just have to like hold down the power button until it shuts itself off. Like nothing, but it's been that way for like 5 or 6 years. So it's like still working, knock on wood. But today when I saw the lights dimming, I was like, okay, I just don't need this thing to get like a jolt of electricity if we get zapped by lightning again over here.
It'll probably be done at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like all this computer is like one little, one hiccup away from blowing up.
And like I know I can't be doing myself any favors. Like how I was on like that Fantasy Life kick for a bit on the 3DS, and like I never turn a system off. Like I just don't. And like there was a point where I was like I'm making sure I was like I haven't played it in like a couple days, but I am gonna keep like putting the in the recharger, and then like a week later I like looked at it and it was like all the lights were off and I was like well I did it again. I just let a battery drain while it was charging, and I'm like, well, that's a cue that I was maybe done for it for a bit.
Those clamshellable guys though, you just like, what's the point in turning them all the way off?
Yeah.
Even like a computer, like my desktop, like I pretty much always just put it to sleep and like never really turn it off. My laptop I actually turn off quite a bit, or at least restart pretty often, because for whatever reason
performance.
And like the graphics card driver, I don't know if it actually stops working, but like the little, like how in the little tool bar box at the bottom right you get that little arrow that like hides some icons. Like sometimes that just disappears and the little NVIDIA thing goes away. So I'm like, either it's just glitching or something stopped working. So I was like, let me just restart this before I do a stream or, do whatever. So, even though I still don't even know how anything works with all that, like all the graphic stuff on PC, I'm just like, I don't understand.
And like the Switch doesn't turn off. Like
you have to like actively like hold down the button for a really long time and then like specifically pick power off and then like from one of 3 options pick like, no, I for real want to turn it off.
Shut down.
Which has always
I'm
been
not trying to put it to
weird.
rest. Yeah.
Like,
because I hardly ever shut that thing off.
No, hardly ever. Ever.
That probably wouldn't be a bad idea to let that thing truly sleep every now and then.
Who knows? Like I've started getting Pro Controller drift now.
No.
Yeah, dude, me too on the right stick in particular.
Mine's on the maybe mine's on the right too. Yeah, I think mine's the right.
To be fair, I really only notice it. It's not actual drift, but I kind of notice it when I'm like, because a lot of times for whatever reason on the home screen on the Switch, I use the right stick to navigate around just because I'll have the controller in my hand weird, or in my right hand, I guess. And I'll, lately it's been like not registering. I'll have to really kind of like push it over to the side or whatever every now and then. So
yeah, it's
annoying.
I tried like the recalibrate thing and like it wouldn't do it. Like, so I have one controller that just like, unless it's a game that I'm constantly moving the joystick, like I just don't use.
That sucks.
I was trying to swap it out like when I was playing Zelda, but like so much of Zelda is like this new one is like kind of precision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're using that stick a lot, but you're also letting it go a lot too.
Yeah.
So
So there would be plenty of times where like I would be either like letting it be still or like holding something still, and then all of a sudden it would just start veering to the left, and I'm like, great, not great, not helpful.
Can't play this. And then once, for me at least, once like something like that happens, even if it's not happening the whole time, I'm like, is it drifting again? Is it lagging? Is it like the other day I was doing a stream, I was playing some sock pop games, and I always kind of have, there's games just act funky on my computer, especially when I'm streaming. And like somebody's like, oh, check out this Year of the Rat game. And I booted it up and it looked sweet. Like I love the style. I was like, oh yeah. But like the jump, I was like, I feel like I'm like losing some frames somewhere in there. And like, I was just like, now that I thought of it for once, like I can't tell if it's, I tweaked some settings and like, I was like, I can't tell if it's happening still or not, but I just can't play this game right now. I got to do it not on a stream because it's going to be in my head the whole time.
And so both of you with the Pro Controller issues, that's freaking wild. That's ugh. Like, and I will say, because it was on sale, and I don't know, I guess I'm just like that. I got the 8-bit dough ultimate controller because I just like, it's been in
I've been tempted.
It's been in the side eye since they announced it like a year or two ago. You know, it's got the little dock and everything. I'm like, oh yeah.
That's exactly why. That's exactly what made me kind of want one. I was like, the dock, and then, I was like, I can use it between PC, and because for whatever reason, the D-pad on my 8-bit dough, the SN30, that one kind of sticks on me here and there. Both the 30 and the 30 Pro have like over time have had some like sticking buttons on those. Yeah. Which is weird, which is like, I guess at that point, why am I like, let's get another 8-bit dough controller? But I don't know. It looks pretty much like a Pro controller, but just not with the dock.
What pushed me over the edge is I saw a clip of like these dudes figuring out in real time that you can wake up the Switch with the 8-bit dough ultimate controller by shaking it after you like turn on the controller. So I'm like, okay, that was the only thing holding me back from making that a potential primary controller when I'm playing in TV mode. So I can sit back, turn on the 8-bit dough controller and just start shaking the shit out of it, and then it turns the Switch on. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Now, why wouldn't it just work with just holding down the home button like normal? I don't know. So that it knows you want to play Switch or something, I guess.
Because it's not a main Nintendo thing.
Yeah. Some hack around or something like that.
But it's nice. Like, the only thing I'll say that like I wasn't super duper pleased about like initially was the D-pad seemed a little bit like loose feeling. The inputs are fine, but I'm just such a D-pad freak that I'm just like demand, a Sega Genesis / Sega Saturn style D-pad perfection.
I was going to say, what do you think you prefer? Or because the Pro controller itself doesn't have that great of a D-pad either. It's kind of like almost too stiff, kind of the opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah, I guess I got used to that. I don't know. Maybe that's all it is.
I definitely, for certain games with like the other day, I was just telling John, I was playing some Undergrave recently on my, and I've been playing a lot handheld, to be fair. So I'll use like the Hori Split Pad Pro, but I also like the other day I was playing on the on the TV on the system, and I was like, you know what? I'm breaking out the Joy-Cons. I want that split because it's all just like up, down, left, right movement, like grid base. So I was like, okay, I just don't want to. On the off chance that I accidentally, every now and then, like I'll just press up and it'll move me left. Yeah. Like it just like, if I press it too much to like an angle or something, it, just registers weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's definitely that. It works fine for like in Tears of the Kingdom or Zelda where you're just like, okay, I'm fumbling through menus or scrolling through menus, I should say. But it's like, when you have to, if you act like, there's no way I could play Super Mario World with that D-pad. There's just no way.
Right.
Yeah. Cadence of Hyrule.
Right.
Yeah. I need that up, down, left,
distinct
right
buttons.
Mm-hmm. I put in the Discord the controller that I've been getting ads nonstop for, and I'm very interested to see like what is the thing that's giving it to me in particular.
Who makes this?
I don't know. I've never heard of them before. Nixie.
I'm not mad about the aesthetic of it.
No, it looks great.
GameCube split looks like it maybe even clamps on.
Yeah. It's
but it says use handheld.
And they got the back. Cool. They got the a lot of these controllers. The ultimate 8-bit dough has this too. Those back buttons. I forget what they call those. The
Hori pad has that too.
Oh,
like you can like assign them to something. Yeah. Even though, to be honest, I can't figure out how to do. Although I've never looked at the instructions, to be fair, but I can't figure out how to assign like the turbo and the all that stuff on the Hori pad. To be fair, I don't even think I would care to use that stuff, but I was just the other day, I was like pushing those buttons. I was like, how do you actually use these? They don't seem to do anything.
The one I did use that once. I used it on what's that game? The 2D top down physical only game we just talked about.
Demon Throttle.
That's the
Demon
one.
Throttle.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used it on that.
A game where you got to keep pressing rapid fire, you know? Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Yep.
There's actually another game I was just playing. I just posted I can't remember if it was like a clip on one of our social medias or whatever, or if it was a YouTube video, but somebody commented like, oh, the way to play this is with Steam Auto Fire. And I was like, oh, you know what? I remember when I was playing this game, I was like, God, I love it, but it's kind of annoying that you got to keep hammering. I was playing on Switch.
Just
but yeah, I was like, man, you got to just mash the hell out of it. And like, I don't know. I was gonna say I don't know if it's better because like on an arcade it feels a little more natural to just kind of like switch your like whole hand
just
or like your two fingers on top of a button
for sure,
as opposed to like your thumb while you're gripping a controller. It just I feel like I get a little crampier.
My little tendons.
I don't know.
At what point
I don't like either, to be fair.
At what point did like bullet hells just go to like auto fire?
Yeah, I want auto fire.
Ikaruga. I'm sure there were plenty before.
Right, like I'm trying to think of like
just like.
Because, like, that seems like a thing that was gone by the time that I was playing, like, bullet hells or R-types or whatever.
Yeah, unless there's, like, a reason for doing it. But even if you had, like, a secondary, like, charge shot, you still could, like, hold it down, charge it, release it. You know, you could still allow you to hold it down or have a secondary button for... Usually there's not, 5 different weapons. Although some shmups have some cool stuff going on like that, but...
Yeah.
Did Jamestown have auto fire? I thought it did. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it had quite a few different settings. Like, because I feel like every weapon had kind of some different, a different feel. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't remember having a mash in that game too much.
Right.
Man,
what was the one that was on the SNES online?
UN Squad?
Poppin' Twinbee?
Poppin' Twinbee, maybe?
Yeah, I think that had auto fire too.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't remember having a mash on that one.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember when I don't have to mash, but I always remember when I do have to mash.
Right. Like, that's the thing is like it's something that like it feels like jarring when I have to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. But then there's games like Downwell where like every weapon is like a little bit different. Like machine gun you can hold down, like, but like laser you have to actively press it each time. And some of them behave differently if you like hold it down. Maybe not in Downwell. I'm trying to think. There might be some though where you have to hold it down and charge it up. But like, yeah, there's definitely some that are like burst. You got to press each time. Where, like, other weapons you can just hold down and blast at will until you run out of ammo.
Right.
That's fair because I know in a lot of like NES games that wasn't the case with the auto fire, and like if you tried to add the like turbo to it, it basically like cancels the shot you just did, or it just makes it a lot shorter.
Like eats the inputs. I bet you that's probably what it was. It was like eating inputs or something like that.
Right.
Ooh, now I'm thinking about like in terms of like synths and like you've seen that like half a press video I've made you watch, I think, Kevin, a million times.
Yes.
Randall, are you familiar? It's a speed running or challenge running Super Mario 64 video.
Oh my god.
And it is mostly about alternate or parallel universes.
Okay.
It is.
And it's like kind of like the whole theory is like, I think somebody like it's kind of started like, can you beat the game without jumping or something like that? And then somebody figured out like, well, you can do it with not only pressing, you don't even press A once, you do a half A press. Like,
because
you basically have it held down the whole time and never release
when you like when you're holding an A button versus when you are like letting go. So if you jump into a stage and keep holding the A button, it acts as if you are holding the A button. It is.
Oh my god.
I love it, dude.
Oh, so it's down to that, like
it's deciding, and they probably did that because of the analog stick centering, right? But they said to all inputs, the default state, we expect nothing to be pressed when you start the level. Go.
Right. So like that's why I'm thinking like, oh, there's probably some stuff of like when a button is pressed or when it's held or when the gate is open, like in a synthesizer versus when the gate is closed.
Yeah.
Like there's probably some input for like an auto fire thing where it's like it needs to have the active like engaging and disengaging of the button in order to register. Or maybe that was something that needed to be in the NES and then could be taken out in later systems. Like, I love that video games are physical objects.
And me too.
It's so cool. I love it.
Ones. Yes.
Yeah. I was actually just even playing a game earlier today, like a brand new game where like you could press any one button to like change. You're kind of going around in a circle. Not the game, not Roto Force, a different game. I think it's called Froggy's Battle or something like that. And you're just, I boot it up for a quick second. You're going left or right, and like if you press, there's like one button that you can press to just switch directions, and if you just press that button, like there's kind of a long delay before you can do it again. But if you use left and right like specifically, or like the shoulder buttons, it's like you can like quickly do it immediately. So that's kind of like, it's for sure like needs to like deregister that input before it lets you press that button again.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how that works. Yeah, even in modern games.
I'm trying to think if I've mentioned this on the podcast before or not, how like the first time I played Chrono Trigger was on an emulator, and like
still need to finish that game.
I played the first 30 minutes to 2 hours of that game like 10 times, and I've never gotten past that.
I've kind of done the same, to be honest. Yeah, I've done it on emulators and then on DS as well.
The DS,
but like there's a point where you need to simultaneously press like left and right, and like whatever the latency on a computer is so much more than, or like less than on a SNES, and like I could not do it. And then I had to, like, I looked up online, and what you had to do was assign both left and right to the same input, because that was the only way to do a simultaneous trigger on a computer and an emulator.
Oh, my God.
Yuck.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Dumb.
At least there was a workaround, though. That's cool.
Gotta love a little PC, little modern workaround. Kind of obviously totally different, but it kind of reminds me of like with Star Tropics when they put that on the virtual console. Like, we got to figure out a way to let you virtually dip that manual in some water so you can look at Uncle whatever, Uncle's secret passcode or whatever.
For the internet.
Wait, what? Okay, this is one that I'm not familiar with.
So the original game Star Tropics, which is #1, an amazing game.
Yeah, great
NES,
game.
like really underrated game that only came out in North America,
Which
at
is
least
ridiculous.
initially. I think it's been released like digitally, across the world now. I think I could be wrong about that, but
I would assume it has digitally. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was like one part in the game where like you had to get some secret password from like a letter from your uncle, and like that letter was in like the instruction manual somewhere in the box or whatever, and you had to like dip it in water to reveal the invisible ink and whatnot. So yeah, totally ruined that manual. I don't know, man. I wonder how many of the actual manuals are untainted that are floating around out there.
Woof.
Not many.
Yeah,
that rules. That's so
very
much cooler
cool.
than the Merrill's codec code on the back of the Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
even
box.
though that was pretty cool too.
That was cool.
And I like that hung me up for a long time. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like it drove me. I had to look it up, and eventually it was like, oh my, the box. Like the whole I backtracked for a long time in that game, and if you backtrack, you're literally just running through like empty areas,
right? Yes.
And I was just like,
because it's just hallway.
What is
connecting
the
hallway?
box? What is this goddamn box they're talking about? I was like losing my mind, and then I was like, they're talking about the game box. I almost stopped playing. I was kind of mad. But it was enough of a laugh that I was like, screw you, Kojima.
The troll.
But that was pretty funny.
They kept that
like
through. The Twin Snakes did the same thing too. But
that's the version I played. Yeah, that's the version I played. Yeah. See, that's the version I played, and I still didn't know. And the only thing I knew is that they had that little Yoshi figurine in one of the rooms, that if you like shot it, it made like a Yoshi noise or something, or it did something.
Yep.
I liked that Twin Snakes remake.
Oh, me too.
Having never played the original, like I played quite a bit of the demo of the original, but I don't have because I know some people. I remember talking with one of the guys in the warehouse in our Best Buy days, Randall.
Yeah.
Like I picked up Twin Snakes, and they were like, "Oh man, they totally ruined that game with they ruined some of the cutscenes." Like there was like they added music in parts that were like quiet and solemn and this and that. But like if you don't know all the beats and whatever, it's like, man, this felt sweet to me. It felt great. Cinematic, just as good as any other Metal Gear game.
Better graphically. Yeah,
I had played 2 first, and then went back and played 1. Twin Snakes was, I think, the next one I played, and I loved both. 2 is still my favorite of that series. I love that game.
I've still yet to play 2.
It's amazing, man. I think you would love that game.
Yeah, I think so too, because I really like Twin Snakes, and I know they took a lot of like the gameplay elements and kind of retrofit them back into 1, right? So
yeah, they definitely did. Yeah. Did you play any of the other ones, either of you guys, or any of that series? Okay. Because I did beat 3
Death
as well.
Stranding's on Epic. I think I
got
that.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, it was like over the holidays.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that will be a game that I play in 10 years' time when I have a computer that can run it.
Yeah, right.
But for real. I can only imagine.
Same.
I cannot wait, because Kojima is such a fucking weirdo that I love so much. That's a nice thing that I love about like the indie space is that you get a lot of like fucking weirdos making their like stuff that they're like super passionate about, but you don't get that with people with budget.
High budget weirdo. Yeah.
Let alone like almost unlimited. I mean, not unlimited, but I mean like
essentially
pretty. But Kojima seems to be able to finish making the games he wants to make. You know?
Yeah.
There's not much holding him up.
No.
Man, God, I kind of want to go back to some of those Metal Gear. I never played anything after 3. I played some of 4, and I played Ground Zeroes, actually. I think I talked about that in like the early days of the podcast, maybe.
I think I got
Which
the
one was
digital
Ground
3.
Zero?
Ground Zeroes is one on recent, previous, quote unquote, previous gen, right? PS4,
Yeah, I think-
Xbox One
I think
range.
Yeah, it was sort of like a prequel to 4, I think.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. It was kind of like a
4 or 5.
like a rogue.
I think it was a
oh,
prequel
it might,
to 5.
yeah, it might have been to 5. Yeah, it might have been to 5.
Gotcha.
I think it was to 5. I think it was
Yeah.
to 5.
4 was on PS4. 4 was the more actiony one with Old Man Snake.
This was on PS4 as well.
No, I know.
Like, it was on.
Yeah.
Was Phantom
Okay.
Pain also Old Man Snake?
Good
Man,
question.
I'm like kind of out of the loop on those games, I guess.
I see
Kinda,
that.
I'm
Like,
drawing a blank.
I know, like, I can visually, like, imagine everything, like, crystal clear up until 3. And then
Yeah,
everything, like, from, like, Acid on, like,
Yeah.
is all the same game. And
Yeah. It does get pretty dang convoluted. It's just like, what is even going on here? But
the story doesn't matter.
no,
Yeah.
because also...
it is engrossing, I will say. I get
yeah,
sucked
it's
into the
engrossing,
nonsense.
but, like, not coherent.
Yeah,
and you're not going for coherence.
No.
Like it's like, yeah, Kojima just like any turn he decides to make, just leans full tilt into it and let's keep going.
Just roll with
Yeah.
it.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't see that coming? Nobody did. Nobody else did either. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kojima's nuts, but yeah.
It's like...
Even the fact that you would make Metal Gear Solid 2 and pretty much not let you play as Snake other than in the tutorial, come on, man. That's
so
kind of
funny.
awesome. That's kind of awesome, especially me being that was the first game I played. I was like, what is going on? Like I kept waiting, like, okay, when's it gonna get back to the main stuff? And that, but it was kind of cool, like that being on the edge of my seat, like what kind of
Yeah.
like I'm sucked into this story now. Like okay, whatever, but like what's going on in this game?
No Snake.
But oh man, so cool.